So what is it like for you? Do you have a preparation when you're going out on tour? Because obviously it's all physical, no matter what instrument you play, singing, whatever. But drums, I mean, it's nonstop. So do you work out? What's your regimen? Do you change your diet? How do you prepare?
No, not a lot of that. I just prepare by playing. It's ramping up the playing as much as I can. And even then, um, the first week is going to be an eye opener for sure. I mean, every single time because you can't simulate the adrenaline uh, that you get from being on stage in front of people when you're just sitting in your house playing drums. It's kind of like when somebody is injured from a team, like an athlete comes back and it takes a little bit to get back to game shape. The guy can be in phenomenal shape, but then there's game shape is another thing. That's
Hmm.
kind of like show shape is a different thing. You can kind of do all the practice you want and get get a handle on all the music. So what I just do is I just practice as much as I can and know everything in and out and just feel like I have the chops that are there. And then the first week I'll be bludgeoned and my hands will be all blistered up because I just can't quite duplicate the same rush that you get playing live. But you know, once you get into a touring cycle, it gets less and less. And this is going to be a busy year, obviously, since the record's coming out. We're going to tour a lot, so it'll be busy and it'll be fine. We've just been home for a little while now, so it'll be a little tough to get right back in the groove, but it'll happen.
You need like a spring training for
You
musicians
do need
almost.
you do need that.
What's really cool about the history of Killswitch, and if you could talk a little bit about, just you're talking about the current brotherhood, but just the brotherhood overall that extends, because you don't see too many bands where they had, because Jesse had vocal problems, so he had to leave the band for a little bit, right? And so that's when Howard had to come in.
Yeah,
So
and it's like it's still we've all kept kind of together, and obviously from Signifier, we just sort of keep that thing going and keep the just sort of kept it together. But we're lucky to have had a few different singers and have been able to maintain whatever um, relevance that we've been able to maintain over the years. It is possible. I mean, Anthrax, Maiden, just to name a couple, but it's not super duper common. It's a big thing that people identify with. I'm not crazy. I know that people hear music and the first thing that 95 or more percent of people gravitate towards is the vocals. So that makes a huge change. You take that and replace it and change it. It's like a huge, huge thing.
it's a testament
You
to the
know,
music and itself, in addition to the vocals, but it's also with the rarity of that, but the fact that you can have like Jesse and Howard like be friendly. Like there's so many
yeah,
bands that go through these changes and it's like leave it in history. Let's not talk about that guy anymore. That's not the case with Killswitch. So it's just a very, for a band called Killswitch, it's a very loving band. Very, that's the way I interpret it. I don't know about you.
yeah. I think it's sort of been one of the big themes we've had consistently over the many years is sort of. I mean, we joke about how Jesse will say this song's about unity, and I'm like, oh, they're all about you, like everyone's, but like it is. It's a thing that we've sort of kept going throughout whatever changes and whatever's been going on with the bands just over the many years. It's sort of always having that positive outlook, whatever's going on around us and with the rest of the world, and always trying to just bring a sense of positivity to the music. It's just sort of been one of our themes. And if we were going to have somebody that we were just going to say we don't talk about that guy anymore, it'd be a little hypocritical of us. Really, we would be practicing what we're preaching, so to speak.
Yeah, that's just one of the things that I love about Killswitch. Because if you can't tell, one of my other favorite bands, and hence also the name of the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, Guns N' Roses posters in
Yeah,
my background. They've gotten better with that, obviously with this mini reunion. But there was a time, uh, don't talk about Slash at all. So I'm just curious. I have this thing on the podcast, like a 6 degrees of GNR Bacon, of course, like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, if you're familiar.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm curious if you have any connection to any of the guys, if you ever met any of them. I mean, if not, if you've seen them in concert, any Guns N' Roses, thing that, or an opinion. So anything that's um connects you to GNR in any way that we may not know.
Um, Really, it's just sort of crossing paths like we did a festival once with them. Um, don't remember where. It was somewhere in Europe. I think I want to say it was somewhere in Italy. But like that's sort of a real loose, a super duper loose connection. It's nothing crazy. We also, I don't remember what the band was called, but you probably will know. What was one of Duff's bands? Like,
Loaded? Lo It wasn't
possibly.
loaded?
I don't know. I remember being in
Walking
Australia
papers.
and doing something with one of the bands that he was. I don't remember if it was Soundwave or Big Festival, but it was one of his bands then that we were playing. I think a festival situation with. But again, it's a really loose connection. I don't have anything stronger than that. Except we did have the best, our best tour, like whatever rip-off design shirt was the Appetite for Destruction. See, yeah, I'm saying the wrong thing now. Appetite for Destruction
Destruction, not
logo.
distortion. Right, right, right.
Yeah, the cross with the skulls, right? So
Hmm.
Joel had drawn all of us, like character. Joel's a really good character, kind of whatever drawer. He did all of us in that, and it said Appetite for Consumption, and it was like the perfect knockoff shirt. It was really good, but our managers were like, "Oh, you can't really sell that." Oh, honestly, came
Oh,
out
because
like it was beautiful.
I was gonna say I haven't seen that, so that's not available. That was just
There was like a tiny, tiny run that we got away with. I think maybe in Australia again for like a week and a half tour or something. So I don't think there was a lot of them out there, but it
right
was it
on.
was it was a good looker.
All right. Well, by the way, I've had looser connections to GNR, so it's just it's a fun way to kind of find things that maybe you know or you don't know. So it doesn't make a difference here or there. But I am curious since you mentioned Appetite, and you're a little older than me because I was 4 when Appetite came out. Do you remember when it came out? Do you remember your
Oh,
thoughts?
yeah, I absolutely remember. It was massive. Like it was a game-changing thing. And it was like I was never really into the hair metal scene. I'm not saying that's what they were, but they kind of like broke that scene a little bit
Hmm.
because they were just there's just something different about them. They were almost like they got lumped into it, but they weren't. They clearly were not that band. And the record, it was definitely the most swearing I ever heard on a record. And it was kind of like I felt like I needed to listen to it in secret, so my parents wouldn't know I was listening to it. But yeah,
I
it
love
was
that.
very clear. Remembering when that came out, it was pretty. It was very new. It was very different, and it was like it was a big deal for sure.
See that little story there, that it was the most amount of curses you ever heard and you had to hide it from your parents. That's the kind of stories I look for because I think that's just a really cool thing and an honest. And I'm sure a lot of kids at that age went through it, hiding it from them because that was nowadays everything's offensive and it doesn't matter. Like people are like offensive just to be offensive, but back then it was a big deal, with the parental
Yeah,
stickers
right.
and parental warnings. So
Yeah, it
that's
would be the tape I listened to in my headphones mowing the lawn rather than the one I put on in my room. You know, it was like that. So
right
just in
on,
case anybody was listening.
right on.